Hey, how's it going? I don't know how long I was just talking, but it wasn't recording. Dang it! So I'm gonna ask you to please take a look at my signs there. Basically, who the hell knows what I'm gonna say? So that's my what is it called? Not a retainer, not a liaison. I'm just trying to see why I... No, see, I can't even do that. CYA. What's I? I don't even know. Cover by what begins with I. Anyway, yeah. You've seen the sign now. Let me see how I can get this on here the way I had it. All right. Don't fall. Makes a terrible noise when it falls though. Come on now. Alright, so I'll go through the whole dang thing again. I ended up pulling 2 cards from the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck. I guess you should see it if I'm going to hold it up there. And then I also ended up pulling 2 from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. And also 1 from the Angel Number card deck. So I had started off with the crow. I pulled these ones first. I'll start with these. This came out alone. And what I had said was that, first of all, the icon over the crow tells us, it indicates the air element energy. And then I was talking about how there are already a lot of preconceived notions about crows, probably based on like public opinion about them, which is they announce death. Like that's like one thing they're known for. But maybe sometimes they do like to a person, not like in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. I don't think people have like big giant flocks just completely following them around. Oh, kitty! All the time. I didn't even see him coming. You come back. You just scared me. I'm sorry. Come here, Puffer. Come on. I think I scared him too. Well, anyway. Like we think they come to announce death, and a lot of times what you can find about these birds is, well, they are ancient symbol wise, and I'm gonna have to link some other I would say more positive associations with the crows. But I was saying that for a while, a couple of months ago, I was seeing actual crows, imagery of crows. Crows kept coming up, or black ravens, like this sort of black bird. And I didn't know why it was happening. Like, I don't think I ever really figured it out to my satisfaction, or like it just didn't become clear. And so that was probably like 2 months ago, and just recently, like the past couple of days, literally, I have been getting the crow thing again. And I see them like almost every day. All I have to do is just go outside. There is like actually like a pretty big and diverse bird population I kind of just sit outside and look at almost every day. But sometimes you'll see one type way more than the other. And in this case with the crows, since it's happened before, I'm like, okay, something that didn't make its way into my skull last time is back trying to tell me something. I don't know if it's the same thing, but I don't know, maybe I'll figure it out. But you know, there, like I said, there's other facts than like the morbid things, you know, like historically about these birds. But like I said, I will link that information. But what you can see is it is like roosting pretty much on the world. It doesn't look like our world or my world so much, Earth, but it's a world, so it's the world. And I can't help but notice that a land mass looks like a giant candy corn. I wonder if steps are sticky there. And so, excuse me. That card, that bird card, sort of nesting on that world, guess what was stuck to its butt? An egg. So, this card, the icon at the top there, that actually is like a higher order in the deck, and it stands for spirit. And a couple of things stand out right away about this egg. It is golden, which is, I mean, unless, I don't think there's like biological gold eggs that come out of a chicken cloaca, but it just, gold itself has a lot of oh my gosh, I hate it when the paper, if the paper, if it's been on this counter too long, it ends up getting touched by my greasy hands. There we go. And the pens don't like to write on the greasy paper. But it's working. So, okay, what else? Crows and, gold stuff. And maybe also yantra stuff too. We'll see, because that's what I'm going to talk about next. So the gold, you know, obviously, it is a component of value, I guess you could say, or you can, it has value. I really want to use the word confer, but I don't think it works here the way that I want to use it. Darn, I'll get another chance. But it's like purity, I think, is one of the things it stands for. It's royalty, like as far as like Egypt, it's super like special for like those people, that class, I guess, that caste of people, which is in some way, shape, or form repeated all over the whole world, and also probably the galaxy too. But another thing about the golden egg is, well, the egg shape itself has a lot of meaning behind it too. There's so many things I can look at this and talk about, and it's often the case. It's like overwhelming to the point where I'm like, just pick two things, because I am already like likely to ramble anyway, take a long time. You don't want me to take longer, or do you? Let me know in the comment section. But okay, so the egg. And another thing special about this egg is, if you look on there, it's got a series of triangles. Another thing, well, the geometric objects have been with me for a while, and triangles and pyramids as well. The triangles kind of went away, and all these other geometric shapes and patterns were coming in, like sometimes it was just like, you know, like I'd be thinking about or doing something else, and all of a sudden some mandala will pop into my head. I'm like, what the? I don't know how to read them. I mean, eventually I hope they'll start to mean something more than like, oh, that's what that is, and why is it there, and what's it doing. But it is there long enough for me to get a look at it and get like I guess the vibration of it before it like goes away. But it's not like coming out going, hi, I am here to tell you this piece of information. It's more like I gotta unravel that knot all on my own. And I got like shape and light and sound vibration to guide me, and you know, I'll get there. We all learn how to make the connections to figure things out. So I was actually seeing triangles like this in a sacred geometry pattern like this but like it, but not like it, because this is, it's like kind of oval shaped anyway. Sort of the way it fits in the egg, but it's not. What I was seeing was more triangular shaped position of triangles, like a triangle of triangle shapes. And I'll tell you, it really conveyed motion. Like I just kept thinking of fleets of fighter ships, you know, not planes, but like, I don't know, it's like spaceships, or, you know, I don't know, maybe fighter planes, but those are not the shape that I was seeing. Like those stealth bomber things were closer to the shape, and there are ships like that shape, I think, that are American, so I'll say ours, but there's more than one shape out of that type of spaceship. Well, what is it? I guess it's a plane. Super futuristic. Well, not anymore. Now it's, I don't even know what. Okay, don't get all sidetracked. Anyway, I learned that these are called a yantra, and they're sort of, you can meditate on them, and you can pick up things from them vibrationally, and I'll just say, look up yantra yourself. If I start like going into everything about that, I'll be here all night. So I just thought it was interesting that, you know, also this world the crow's sitting on, it sort of reminds me of daybreak. Just the way it's like the light is popping out, and the planet is rising up out of the darkness or whatever, and it's not an egg, but then here's this bird that looks like it's sitting on an egg, and then this card is stuck behind it. So, I mean, there's something to the bird hatching an egg thing too. I don't know. I have to unravel that. And so, from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck, this guy, without my fingers in the way or the glare, 2 came out as well, and the first one I pulled was actually the number 1 card in the deck, and it's Tidy House. And as you can see, it's a progression of like I guess archaeology is the word here, but a generational housing construction. And usually, like, I am going to focus on that again because it is front and center, but usually, like, the difference is the progression from, like, this more primitive one to this more modern structure. I am going to refer to that, but in a different way than I usually do, because I feel like it represents not just buildings, but sort of like the way the buildings go from primitive to modern are like making me think of a passage of time rather than my usual thing where it's like about just the modernization really, and then like the not necessarily all positive effects of modernization on society and the land and resources and all that. So this is different because I feel like it's representing stages of what we as a society are going through. Man, I'm jumpy right now. So it's like a progression of us, basically, is what I'm feeling like. And not all of us have moved away from the most primitive stage and progressed through to the modern stage. We may have done that and then reversed all the way backward, you know, maybe a stage to make life less stressy and full of everything. Or maybe you just want to like back all the way up and go off the grid and outdoor plumbing and cooking in the fireplace and really like just go back to really basics. I'll just leave it at that for now. And then, you know, as a society, while all of these changes are going on, people have feelings, people have opinions, but we do all have to like coexist with each other. And I think that this is like fairly neat. I don't think what we're going through right now can be represented as this neatly, but you get the idea. But we live in the world. Like, I stick to speaking about like the United States, but other places in the world are not. I mean, they're going through things that are not so different, and we can't just tear each other down and cancel, which is just the dumbest thing. It doesn't. The word they're saying doesn't mean the definition it's used. It drives me crazy. But you just, you know, you can't live with us, and you really shouldn't kill us. That's not cool. Like, that's frowned upon. So we just have to like take it, you know, take living with someone that you love that just is, well, they're being stupid in some way. They are like tearing you down and making, like, blaming you for things that are like none of your anything. It's one of those situations where it's a person like going through some stuff and they're blaming everybody but themselves for what they are feeling, because, you know, people are around you in the world doing extraneous things, but it's your response and your reaction that shapes your responses and your reactions. Like, nobody can make you do anything. Nobody can make you feel any kind of way except for like poking you with something sharp or socking you, but like evoking a feeling, it's kind of a two-way street, because somebody could be going through all kind of emotions and trying to convey things to you and impress you and like dazzle you, and or just in some way like get a rise out of you or something, and you could have your person that you're trying to talk to be completely uninterested and just like, you know, next and can't live with them, and you can't kill them, you know. And that's kind of like, that's, you gotta have a sense of humor to go with that. But please try, because everything else serious all the time, it's good to get laughs in, silly ones, laughs at your own expense, laughs at the absurdity of life, even if it's completely tragic and appalling. There's room for everything everywhere, but you can avoid falling into the trap of retaliatory responses or going full victim or going dictum, which is acting like a dick and then acting like a victim about it. Or you could do a lot of the things that seem counterintuitive, where you're like, you are behaving terrible to me and I can't really part from you for whatever reason, but I know that you're going through something and it's kind of is your fault, but not. Like, maybe you don't know how to process whatever's in your back pocket up your back pocket. And you take a hit for the team because you love that person. You, like, if it's a child, children can be so cruel, and children will say some sorry fucked up shit to you, you know, like as a younger child to an older child, or a child to an adult, and they may know they're being malicious or that they're being vindictive and say or do something really like frightfully incisive to cut the adult down. But you gotta, you know, there is a for a while, there's a power dynamic that needs to happen in that particular situation, and the child cannot be running the show. So you have to swallow the throttle, swallow the urge to throttle that child or other person in your life. And even if they're not your relative, that you have to, like you're stuck with them basically. You kind of want to treat everyone with that kind of regard, and it would be easier with someone you just don't really know and you have no shared blood with, to like get an insult from and just be like, meh, I'll never see your working at the counter in a liquor store ass again. Or or whatever the interaction is. Like you have other options besides just going full Karen or where's my gun. We have words, and they can really, like, have you ever heard a rap battle? Words can fuck you up. And that's why we have some very famous people that can't handle words, and they'll change laws. They'll try to change laws so you don't get to say little words that hurt those peepees. So, in order to not have things escalate to that level, somebody in these situations is always going to have to be the bigger man. I'm not going to, like, fix that term for genetic purposes. Not genetic, gender. I'll leave the genetics alone, but even gender I'm not going to mess with, because, oh man, someone called you a guy and you don't have a wiener. Well, the world didn't end. It's like just another pronoun. As far as I'm concerned, and it's non-binary. How's that? How do you like that, apple? And so the angel card I pulled was the the 3333 card. It's a lot of threes. 3 by itself represents basically like the one source, spirit, God, vibration unit thing. A whole gang of them. I mean, bluntly, more of the same. So the subtitle for this card is social skills, which isn't that funny. What was I just talking about? I love the cards. Thank you. So I'm gonna go directly to the paragraph on here. Here's a little look at what I'm talking about. There's a keyword here, or not a keyword, but a subtitle to the number on all of these cards. And then there are some keywords that I basically use for associations. And then there's a paragraph that I will now read, so I can tell you what it's telling me. And you. Okay. The problems you have today will eventually disappear. Your guardian angels encourage you to maintain a positive outlook on life, since your luck may be about to change. It is time to put to use your captivating energy and inspirational personality. Don't let your ego get the best of you. Don't go off on the snarky kid and let your ego get the best of you. Just take one for the team. Burn that child barb in your heart fire. And radically accept. Radical acceptance. Like literally contort yourself into a new shape to maintain cohesion. Speaking of maintaining cohesion, a final thing to say, because I'm going to wrap up here, about the bird and the hatching. This, I would say, would represent like the world that we could have for everyone, where we would all be pleased enough, we'd all have enough that what we need, that we're not so worried about what everybody else has. And that goes from material objects to civil rights. It's like a golden ideal to have a world where golden rules matter again, and we're not the sort of uncaring, insensitive savages that we've become. Like, I have said that I felt like living alone, away from like family and people I know well, and home turf and all of those things. It's kind of made me I don't know, it's given me a lot of time to like basically observe everything and everyone else in the world, and not just myself, but the way that we interact, where it's like we gotta go to this extent just to get through a conversation, you know, without like losing it ourselves, and then also not losing it on the other person in the conversation. We have moved away from things like the golden rule and manners, which you could pretty much say and do all of the things that we do right now, except manners and golden rules give us guide rails and moderation. And also, the best thing about manners, I learned them early from my parents, and well, not my parents, from my grandparents, really. Oh yeah, like the younger generation, it's even worse now. I don't think people get taught manners anymore, because it sure doesn't seem like it. But when I was having to learn them, it was like every turn I was doing something wrong, doing and saying and sitting and holding the utensil and having my limbs in the wrong position or the wrong place on the furniture. It was just like everything I wanted to do was like a thing that was frowned upon. You should not be doing that. You're not allowed to do that. You can't. I didn't like that. But at some point, it was like it was the same as learning the multiplication tables. I finally got it, and they could leave me alone about it. But years later, in this world we live in now, I see the benefit of them, because what it gives you in the situation where you're sort of bumping heads with someone or having one of those really abrasive disagreements is it gives you a set of tools to interact without, and using words without going straight to insults and everything that comes after that. It's like once you start, it just flies downhill like a boulder on fire. Well, I mean, I don't think I'm talking to a whole bunch of people that are unfamiliar with the stuff I'm saying. The way we are is pretty inescapable, and I think that's deliberate. What am I doing on time? Not bad at all. So, I guess I'm not going to wrap up. I'll see if I can do this quick. I have been paying attention to a number of situations, but one that's out with a lot of, like, every 10 minutes somebody somewhere is putting out a video commentary about this. Well, first it was Diddy, now it's sort of rippled outward to all these other people, which that's kind of what the problem is all these connections. And it's kind of complicated, and it's, I guess, dangerous and scary a little, and there's a lot of emotion involved, and it's just like another sector of society going through a little bit of turbulence. And I have touched upon this at the beginning when I started talking about this, because what I kind of see as the problem here, aside from the fact that there's like people getting drugged and taken advantage of and being made to do things that they wouldn't normally do to like move ahead in like the record world of I don't know, it's not all of that world, but it's just like a portion of it. And there's a lot of sex, drugs, and violence and weird stuff, but it's not the only situation in this country or the world where it's like these nasty little pustules of disgusting control over people, and the trafficking allegations and the slavery allegations, and so, like, you know, that's not great. It's not the happiest. But what I was seeing was that rather than being able to accept people just that for being homosexual, it was distorted and contorted by what these people were doing, because they were using homosexual acts, I guess, allegedly, to coerce them into doing things. It's like a deal, like actually a two-way deal, but really terrible, because it was damaging to so many people. Like, you can look it up. You can probably just put Diddy in Google right now, and you'll get pages and pages of this stuff. So the thing that I noticed was, and it's something that as a black person I have noticed, like, way before any of this happened, and it is the militant discomfort with homosexuality in the black community. Like, it's not so much with the women, but some of them, but the dudes are just like so mad at it and so scared of it. And this situation is so murky. Like, people are being accused of doing gay stuff when, remember, accusers, that these people have been drugged and are not doing things that they want to be doing. And not only that, they're too whacked out to consent. So reserve that blame, I think, for like pretty much the whole situation, because whoever's doing it to the next person below them, their subordinate, there was someone above them that did it to them. But that's obscuring the actual problem with that situation, because it's a subset of another blister of pustules, like Playboy Mansion and Epstein Island, and there's other stuff. And to some degree, I think, like, well, there's churches involved here, but I was actually just thinking of the church. But okay, so but what my problem is that they're conflating what happens at these parties and what happens to people. And that, I mean, I don't see anybody like coming out of the nasty stuff where people are being attacked and stuff physically saying, that was a great time, I can't wait to go back and do it again. That is not what I'm hearing from people. There's fear, like they can't talk, because if you tell, why, what's gonna happen? If they weren't doing the drugging and stuff like that and the coercion, it would just be gay people at work doing jobs, or, you know, gay people at a party with their co-workers who may or may not be also gay. Like, who cares? It's a party. People are just there. Point is that I feel like there's, the gay has been around forever. People have been trying to eradicate it forever. Ain't worked in thousands of years. Give it up. Move on to something else is my attitude about it. Because it just is. But there's a lot of pain and fear about it. And that's conditioning and programming. But the two are not the same thing. And because you got drugged and were filmed doing stuff, like, maybe there was a inhibition that the drugging removed so that someone could, like, allow themselves to like be curious, or allow the deep-seated curiosity they may have about it, or even fear, to not interfere with them, like someone was doing this to them. But I always say these things are a co-creation. There's a willingness, maybe not consciously. The stuff is layered and deep, and we don't face stuff, and we put up walls and barriers in ourselves. So there's a lot going on inside of people, and I guess what my point is that what I see is like all of this cultural upheaval and change. This is something I think in the community that might be needing to change. Like that's why everybody is in your face. All the feelings are coming out. And I guess what I really want to say is try not to blame everybody for what they're doing. It's also being done to them. And when you're kind of messed up in the head from things like this, you don't act right. You can't. You're like injured in your mind. So you're not right, you know? And so it doesn't help right now for everybody to be just sniping all of these slings and arrows digitally everywhere. And some people that got caught up in this have like a beautiful talent inside them, and that was what attracted this icky element. And one of the other reasons it's so attractive is because they literally are like eating your feelings, you know, your energy. And that's gross, but that is like literal psychic vampires right there that also do other dirt, apparently, evidently, or allegedly, rather. So, I mean, that's interesting, but that, I feel like it's like a thing happening in the community, the black community, the community, that it has to go through, that I think is a little behind on it, because kind of like the rest of the world is like, they may be just as icked out by gay stuff, but they can like abide by it being in their world. And those people, you may not like it, but you don't have to get into bed with them unless you're in a place where they do things to you, so you can't not do stuff, and you can't even think, you know, like if you're insensate, if you're insensitive, then you're not, like, you couldn't testify in a court of law. So, I mean, but a lot of the blaming and fear is coming from inside of the people talking that way. So anyway, it's just like, this might have uncorked all of that stuff, so it could just run its course, like everybody can get all worked up and they can work through them. That's major. Like, I don't know if it'll be appreciated, but if we can get the portion of us that feel that way, if we can get over that hump, and not just black people too, wherever else it exists, but I am talking about just this particular group that is mostly black people, that's amazing. That is like a giant effort of co-creation where it looks gnarly and scary and crazy and not like anything productive is happening, except maybe the criminal justice if it happens, because it seems like everybody's dragging out so much information. It might, I don't know, is it going to screw up the stuff they're going to try to do in court? I don't know. But anyway, it's like, it's happening, it's rolling, it's on. Everybody's feels are on 1,000. Everyone's going through it, and I say good, because that is a progression, and that's moving us forward, and that's a good thing. There was something else, but I'm tired of talking, so maybe I'll do it next time. Thank you, and good night.